Yes, he is the most passionate Vikings fan we know. Randy Vikes 69 on Twitter. If you would like to follow his, I was going to say insights. We can just say his tweets, whatever he's putting out there. Randy in Cottage Grove, who has correctly nailed through his film study, his mock draft work, multiple Vikings draft picks in the past few years. Randy, the Vikings are back on track at 9-2, beating the Patriots on Thanksgiving a few nights ago. How are you feeling?
Well, pretty good, but you just brought something up that I feel like I need to have a sort of confession about, is that when we're winning like this, some of the work those of us in the mocking community would typically be putting in already, we're not focused because we're too busy, watching the run, getting jazzed up and jacked up about the season, when normally we'd be breaking down, a lot of the college seasons are already in the books. Some of these gems on teams that aren't going to make a bowl, you're already starting to put some guys on your big boards, and I haven't done any of that yet.
Wow. So you haven't even like put together an initial, like not even the framework of your first mock?
No. This is as late in the season as I've ever gone into the college season without having even like a sort of a beta, like an 0.6 or an 0.7, and a lot of the tape I typically get from college, sort of circles, people do tape trades and stuff. I haven't gotten any of it yet.
That's okay. I mean, the Vikings are good. You know what? Your focus being on what's currently transpiring, I think, is absolutely fine.
Yeah, whatever you can do to help this year's team is probably where you're most
just
effective.
Don't hold it. I hope we make a run, because if you don't hold it against me or any of the other mockers if we're a little off next year, because this is a distraction.
Yeah.
Well, it's a good distraction.
It's a good distraction to have. So, hey, how was before we get to your stud stable here? How was your Thanksgiving spread? What was the MVP? What was the super duper stud of your Thanksgiving meal?
A lot of different items. The one I mentioned to you guys and got a little pushback. Fair enough. You have it your way, because I ate a lot of them, and that's the giblets. We fry them up good, and they were delicious. You can do them with a buffalo or barbecue. That was a great way to kind of finish the night. And then we do what's called kind of a late night Thanksgiving taco, where you take a tortilla and wrap it up with the turkey and the stuffing and the gravy and the potatoes and pop it in the microwave. It's phenomenal.
Well, let me ask you this, Randy, because I saw us a hot take from our friend Courtney Cronin on Around the Horn yesterday.
Oh,
what is the ceiling of the Thanksgiving leftovers after Saturday, Sunday? Like, when can you stop eating Thanksgiving leftovers? Because now it's like becoming a potential food poisoning issue. Like, are you still basically eating your Thanksgiving leftovers, 5 days after the fact, now that it's Tuesday?
We typically go through it pretty quick, but sometimes you make a triple or even a quad batch of stuffing, and
all right,
if you look at it, Sunday into Monday and it's got a little fuzz, just take the top.
What?
If it has a little fuzz on it, just take the top layer off. And if you're really worried about it,
a little fuzz.
No, you got to throw it away at that point. If it's green, you got to get that out.
Take the top. It's only on the surface, like cheese. Just take the top part off, and then heat up the rest.
What have I
If
done?
you're really worried about it, chase it with some egg.
Oh, it kills the bacteria.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
The alcohol will kill the bacteria. He does have a point.
Is that what happens? You light a little food poisoning flame, and then you douse
Burn it
it
off. Burn it off right in your stomach.
I would just want to say, for the listeners and viewers out there, we officially, Mackey and Judd, do not recommend that you just take the top layer of moldy fuzz off. But Randy, you do you, man.
It eats the same. I'll just say that.
Okay.
He's right. But
speaking of dousing the flame, this Randy and Cottage Grove stud stable is presented by our new friends at Lake Ridge Liquors in Vadnais Heights, Dex.
Randy, have you made the trek out to Lake Ridge Liquors off 694 and Rice Street? Do you need a ride to Lake Ridge Liquors?
That could be helpful. Also, wasn't able to get there yet, but I do hear they do have. Yeah, I got two people I know said they've been there and they do have it.
There's a 40-foot long wall of whiskey, actually, specifically. There's 1,000 wines in stock. They got Surly's. They have Before I Dies. They even had the rewards program, Randy. So, if guys like you and I who like to frequent the liquor store, when you go and you sign up with the promo code SCORE, they'll give you $5 on your next visit because, we're going to have to restock those Yags, restock that alcohol and stuff. So go check out Lake Ridge Liquors. They're off 694 and Rice Street. Shout out to Lake Ridge Liquors for sponsoring programming on SCORE North.
Amen. All right. All right, Randy. Let's fire this thing up here. A 9-2 Vikings stud stable.
Yeah, this is a stud stable from the Thanksgiving Day game, night game. That's what it was. And in reality, this should have been a big, exciting thing because it was teeing it up for the Packers to take care of business and put us in the driver's seat. They didn't do that. So you could
never rely on them. Never
do
rely
a whole
on
nother dud stable on that bunch of clowns. But we control our own destiny, in my opinion, if we continue to play the way we're capable of playing. And that was one hell of a bounce back. I'm just going to keep it short and sweet here because the people who made this stable happen, they know who they are. We're going to start under center with a guy who even me during the game said I told some guys at the bars that he can't do it. He just cannot do it when the lights are bright. Well, in the middle of that game, he decided to throw on the chains, as they say, and give a little like that, give a little MFers maybe in the huddle. Who knows? But he decided this is I'm doing this, and I'm going to take the prime time narrative, and I'm going to flush it right down, and he did, and that's Kirk Cousins. Kirk, in this game, prime time, you were a stud. You like that? The super stud. This is a guy who I've been just having dreams about him ever since that game. And like I said a couple weeks ago, we're gonna have to get ready to pay him. You're gonna have to get ready to pay him. But I have a bit of a buzz of my own thinking about him every time I watch him streaking, and that's Justin Jefferson. Justin, you took that game over. You put the league on notice one more time that you are the best receiver in the NFL. You are the guy who goes and gets the catches that seem impossible. Those 50-50 balls, you turn them into maybe like a 69-31 ball, and that's what I like to see. Justin Jefferson, you are a super stud.
Okay, Randy.
And finally, here's a guy who went against a bit of an old mentor of his, and he came out of the fire the victor. In national television, everyone was watching. We were having a great time. We were rowdy. And he paid it off. He stared down the legend, Bruce Belichick, and he said, Bruce, you may be the kind of guy who thinks you're a legend, you're going to walk out and scare us on a short week, whatever your narrative is. Well, not this week. The week was short. We came off an absolute embarrassment and rallied. We circled the wagons. A lot of people I know who were there said it was as loud as it's been all year. And that's because of you, KOC. KOC, you stared down your mentor. You stared down Bruce Belichick and you told him, Bruce, today is my day because I am a super duper stud.
I've always been a big fan of Bruce Belichick.
Bruce Belichick.
Brucey. I call him Brucey.
Why did he say Bruce Belichick? He knows his name. Is he trying to be funny?
He's called me Jeff for...
Well, I think he actually thinks your name is Jeff. I
know.
He
so
actually
perhaps
knows
he doesn't,
your name.
Perhaps he doesn't know, but Bruce's
he doesn't
name is Bill.
I don't think he listens to our show. He just started calling in like 8 years ago because he was looking for a place to do mock drafts. He's very selfish like that.
Yes.
I don't think he's like part of the community of the show. I think he just like wants to give his takes. He's a little narcissistic.
Yeah.
That Randy in Cottage Grove.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bruce Belichick.
All right. Well, there it is. The Randy in Cottage Grove stud stable. The 9-2 Vikings. Interesting defensive note here to get to. Our old friend Andrew Kramer. Andrew Kramer is one of the founding fathers of the original Purple podcast that eventually turned into Purple Daily. He covers the Vikings for the Star Tribune. And I'm going to give you the nugget here in just a second. But it's a tough time of year for people when it comes to controlling their weight. But you have shown you can still enjoy some good things in life, a beer here and some food over there, and keep the weight off or lose weight.
That's right. And I did it because of my friends at Livia Weight Control Centers who helped me drop 40 pounds. Now, the most important thing, though, is what they will do is they'll help you drop the weight. And I'm telling you right now, it's as simple as possible. But the best part is maintaining the weight loss because that's the toughest thing. We've all lost weight and gained weight back. That is not going to be the case. And do I have a holiday deal for you right now? So, guys, if you're on the couch and you're like debating, well, this isn't the time of year, I'm going to wait till January 1st. First of all, don't wait. Second of all, the offer is this. The best offer of the year is save 50%. That's right, save 50% off the ordinary price. If you join today, it's as simple as this. 855-GO-LIVEA, livea.com, livea.com. Don't wait. Start that weight loss now. In fact, you know what? You will, by the time January 1st gets here and your buddies are like, I'm going to start to lose weight, you already will have a massive head start. Livea.com is how you get it.
Yeah. Okay, so this is from Kevin Seifert, our friend at ESPN.com, is tweeting this nugget out from Andrew Kramer. So Kramer he talked to Jordan Hicks about like the Vikings had some success with late blitzes in the second half against the Patriots on Thursday. They actually, after Mac Jones basically ran roughshod over them for maybe the best game of his career, the Vikings then dialed up some pressure later in the game. There was some speculation that while the Patriots had to go to some longer developing routes than they were early in the game, the Vikings were also sending some late running blitzers. But here's what Kevin Seifert tweets. Kramer is right about the Vikings blitz. If you want them to blitz more, at least consider the overall effectiveness of the times they have blitzed. So the Vikings have a 33% pressure rate on blitzes, which is the 7th lowest in the NFL. So when they blitz, they only get pressure 1 out of every 3 times. Opponents' QBR against the Vikings blitz is the 7th highest in the NFL. It's an 80 QBR on a 1 to 100 scale. So a lot of people, and I agree with the sentiment that you need to get more pressure. It can't just be Za'Darius and sort of Daniil. There's got to be more. There's got to be, you can't have guys like Mac Jones just sitting back there for 3 hours picking you apart. Especially in a home game. And so why doesn't Ed Donatel send more blitzers? And this might be your answer here, that, well, when they have, it hasn't been effective. And so now all you're doing is you're just taking guys out of coverage and leaving even more open windows. So my counter question back would be, okay, is there something schematic about the blitzes that's just not effective? Is there a better way to scheme the blitzes to get home and to get more pressure?
Yeah. And my response to those stats that you just went through is very simple. You can't abandon the blitz. You can't abandon pressure because it doesn't always get there. When you're playing a young quarterback in U.S. Bank Stadium, okay, which Mike White, again, is going to play against them on Sunday. He played great for the Jets against the Bears. But you can't just be like, okay, you know what? Our blitz doesn't get home enough, so we can't blitz. Because then, as we saw with Mac Jones, the problem is he can stand back there and pick you apart. And I would rather have a situation where at least the teams don't know what to expect, and where if I do give up plays, I at least am trying to get pressure. Mm-hmm. I don't like this passive, almost sometimes it looks like a prevent defensive method of, well, we can't get, we don't want to get beat, and so we're not going to blitz. I think you have to vary things up. And look, you know what? We know this. This defense isn't good enough to just be like, it's great. Like, it has flaws. And unfortunately, right now, you ain't fixing them. Like, your personnel is your personnel. So what frustrated me about the Patriots game is Mac Jones is a young quarterback, very susceptible to pressure. And to just be like, well, look at the stats. We don't get home enough. Okay, that's a problem. But with a quarterback like that, I still want to pressure him and create the perception of pressure. Now, if it's a veteran, that might be different because he could pick you apart. Brady's not going to freak out. But, with Mike White, if you allow Mike White to sit back there with a 4-man rush all the time, I think you're going to have problems. So it's the perception of the pressure against, depending on the quarterback, which is why I don't think that you can just abandon it and say, well, the stats showed that we don't do this. Ed's got to be more creative, and Ed's got
Yeah.
to keep quarterbacks off balance.
Also, I would add this, that okay, what you're doing now is leading to the second worst yardage defense in the NFL, and now you're starting to give up more points too. You gave up what was it, 26 to the Patriots?
Yeah.
You gave up 40 to the Cowboys. So if the goal is, hey, we're not going to go crazy blitzing because A, we're not that great at it, and we just don't want to allow big plays over the top. We'd rather a team have to work their way down the field. And I would say, well, they are. So I mean, is there something to be said for taking a few more chances? So the Vikings, for instance, they blitz. This is getting real stat heavy, but they blitz on 15% of snaps. The Giants are at the top of the list. They blitz on 42% of snaps. So like every other play, the Giants are just sending guys. And, you know, a lot of this has to do too with like, what's the personnel? Can your secondary hold up if they have to be in man coverage, if they have to, you know, cover a guy 40 yards down the field one-on-one or something. So I get that there's some personnel issues here that would maybe prevent you from blitzing. But if you decided in the next 2 weeks to tinker with, okay, Mike White is not a very experienced quarterback. He was like a 5th or 6th round draft pick a few years ago, and he has not played a ton of like high-level football. Let's make his life a little miserable. Let's instead of blitzing 15%, let's do what let's blitz on like 1 out of every 3 or every other play and see what happens. What's the worst that can happen? You might give up a lot of yards.
Yeah, which you
already are. So you might give up a lot of points. Well, I mean, you're kind of like lately you've been giving up 40 and 26. I mean, what are the Jets going to score 50 on you if you blitz more?
Yeah.
Or could you maybe create some stuff, maybe a couple big losses that lead to better field position for you or a turnover? I would just like to see them try for a couple games. What happens if you try to dial some more stuff up?
And I felt like, and I don't know if the stats are going to back me up on this, I felt like the Dolphins game that they did exactly that. And it created, again, the perception of, okay, the ball has to be out. I also would not be, and it's very clear that this defensive scheme does not lend itself to it, but I think the personnel does. I also would not be adverse to the occasional safety blitz, to the occasional corner blitz. Keep them off balance. I feel like this defense, one of its major flaws is there's a predictability that I don't like. Like, where is the safety blitz occasionally? And by the way, I don't think you put that on film for the most part. So if you do that now, it's going to be a surprise. I think you need to differ things up and not be as formulaic. This feels like a very formulaic defense, which is fine if your guys are outstanding. These guys aren't outstanding. So Ed Donashell has to help them.
Okay, I found this stat just for fun here. How many times would you guess Harrison Smith has been credited with well, let me see here. How many times has Harrison Smith been a pass rusher? How many plays has he been according to Pro Football Focus, a classified pass rusher?
Just going with the eye test, totally not having any clue. It feels like about maybe 10 times.
6 times.
Okay.
But last year, let's see here, 2021. Okay, well, yeah, last year was 43.
Yeah, because Zimmer would blitz him all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And he also played more of a, and I thought that the Vikings were going to do this, and I've been absolutely wrong. Harrison Smith at his best, and yes, he's not at his best now because of age, but he was almost a rover.
Yeah.
I mean, think about where
that's
Mike
an
would put him.
amazing stat, man.
Yeah,
43 times last year, 6 this year.
You tune into a PD, you know what you're going to get, or Mackey and Judd.
Amazing stats.
You're going to get the truth about what's going on, good and bad. Don't
Something
you laugh,
else
Declan.
to deal with. What? It was an amazing stat.
It was an amazing stat. I love Judd. Judd's great.
We're bringing it. That's what you get on our shows.
Yeah.
Okay, Eric Kendricks has been sent 23 times as a pass rusher this year. Where was he at last year? 68. So his pass rushing's way down. Anthony Barr was sent as a linebacker 85 times last year.
Wow.
As a pass rusher.
Okay.
And
what's Hicks at?
Hicks is at 28.
Okay.
So it's down. I mean, it's a thing. It's a schematic thing.
Yes.
And that's not like pressures. This is how many times were they sent as a pass rusher?
So it's in their principles not to do it. And my point
Yes.
is, I think your personnel calls for you to get creative and do it. Not all the time.
By the way, one of the only teams that blitzes less than the Vikings, the New York Jets, they only blitz 15.1% of the time, but they have a top 5 pressure rate.
Yes, they get
That's
home.
the holy grail, right? Like
Yes.
we don't we get home and we
yeah.
don't have to blitz.
Yes.
But the Vikings don't have that right now. They don't have it.
No,
So,
they don't.
yep. Well, look at that. Wow. Need a cigarette after that stat. What a pull.
I would love to know, and he'll never say it because he's a good teammate. I would love to know behind the scenes what Harrison Smith thinks of this scheme.
It would be, he barely talks, period,
He'd never
publicly.
tell you.
He's certainly not going to rip the scheme, but it would be interesting to hear, yeah. And these defensive players have to be kind of questioning at some point because you think Harrison Smith and Patrick Peterson and Daniil Hunter and Zadarius Smith especially, like I just named 4 amazing players that make up half the defense. Are they going to, and Kendricks, like, are those guys going to say, God, this scheme's rocking and we just aren't good enough? We as players are the reason why this is the second worst yardage defense in the NFL. They probably have some issues with the scheme. So it is ultimately
Harrison Smith would, for sure.
I think some of these players have fallen off, but I think the personnel to me on defense is not living up to what it should be.
I agree.
And that is a coaching and schematic issue.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it's the number one defense if you get the right scheme and coaching, because it's not, but
You know what it is? It's the opposite of what O'Connell does on offense. They are basically taking the principles of the scheme and saying, this works. And the players are like, does it really?
yeah.
O'Connell adjusts, right? So like he makes concessions to make Kirk good or to showcase Kirk, which doesn't take him out of his scheme completely, but it certainly nods to what Kirk does well. I feel like what Donatel is doing is very much, these are our principles and this is how we play, damn it.
Yep. All right. Well, that's Mackey and Judd here. This is your deep dive into pressure and blitz statistics. And tomorrow we will go through our weekly predictions and accountability session on Write That Down. Be sure to check out the Trenches with Boone episode of Purple Daily that dropped this morning on this Tuesday morning over on the Purple Daily podcast feed and YouTube channel.